Hello, welcome back to Collector Creations. Talking about steelbooks, this is a fun topic. As someone who used to be an avid steelbook collector and then just kind of stopped because expensive and also very fragile products for what's meant to be, you know, media wrapped in metal. What a tagline. But I've noticed a bit of a unfortunate kind of direction that physical media has been going in for the past year or so, where, and this is not just in Australia, there's a lot of it that has been mostly Australia, but there has been, in the UK and the US and some other countries. Exclusivities has gone on Blu-rays have gone to steelbooks only. Which is annoying. There's a two-factor to this annoyingness. Mostly the factor of steelbooks that are getting releases, let's say Nightmare on Elm Street, The Terminator, Lethal Weapon, and/or, because of the Disney steelbooks, all of the Disney steelbooks, and Matilda. Matilda still hasn't been released in Australia, but has only gotten a 4K steelbook released in the US, and has only now had announced a 4K in steelbook in the UK, which is insane. It's been out for 2 or 3 years. I still bought it when the Cinemaniacs had a store. They don't do that anymore. That was a year or so ago, so what the fuck? So that's a thing, but some of these will now have standard releases. Again, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Terminator. Lethal Weapon, not yet, actually. That only just came out as a 4K steelbook in Australia. The point of these is that so many of these will just get a steelbook release and then not get a standard release. Matilda seems to be, it's one of the few ones that I can think of the top of my head that just hasn't gotten the basic release. No standard generic artwork, casing, plastic Amaray case bullshit. None of it. And it's really annoying because I love the film, but I hate that I had to buy a steelbook to get it. I think there was a Blu-ray release a while ago, but again, a standard Blu-ray, not a 4K, so not the new restoration, whatever, and that was just a standard Blu-ray. But some of these films, which most of them, none of them, to my knowledge, have gone straight to 4K. None of them have done that jump, so that's something I can cross out. But The Terminator, for example, when it came out in steelbook, it did have a aligned physical standard 4K release. Put the artwork there for the standard release, which we did. We've only just gotten that in Australia. At the start of July, end of June, we finally got the basic version for $26.98, which is fucking... I wish I had have waited. If I had have known, most of us didn't, we had to wait a whole year. We already had to wait because the US and UK got it before Australia, and they got both versions. And then when Australia got it, we only got the steelbook, which sold out very quickly, and then got a very small... Well, it got a decent reprint, I'd say, because it didn't sell out on its reprint. I ended up waiting because I already had the old Blu-ray, which was a 4K restoration, which I was happy with. And then I saw it during Actually, I saw it just before a 20% off sale, so I still spent $55 on the steelbook. Went back about 3 days later and got the 20% off discount. Haha, you can do that at JB. 2-week payback guarantee thingy. It's wonderful. I don't think they like it, but it's a part of their services. Fuck yeah. So I still got my 20% back on that, but that's only a couple of bucks. In contrast to what the standard physical version is now, the $26.98 Australian dollars, is crazy that I had to pay twice as much for, sure, the artwork looks nice, and sure, you get a Blu-ray disc because the 4K is just a 4K, but it's still annoying that they weren't coincided in release. Same as Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street actually, I think, had it worse, because that one, I don't think in general it even had a standard release. It had a huge box set release, which I did buy. I bought that from the UK. I actually bought it via Outrun, so I think I spent about $95 fucking dollars on it, which is mental. Maybe $100, which sucks. I really like the film, though. I love the artwork on the set. I like all the bonus features, so I'm okay to spend the extra pocket for a deluxe edition. But again, I was buying it so I could have it because I didn't know if they were going to do a standard release. And lo and behold, they eventually actually released that steelbook in Australia at JB, which is fucking nuts. And it was still expensive, still $80. I think it was actually cheaper than what I bought it for, which sucks on my behalf. It happens. That's the physical media game. But then they did eventually, after a couple more months, release a standard edition. And the standard edition has only now come to the market in Australia, which is, again, great that the 4K standard edition exists, but again, for that $25 to $30 price range, which is, again, not bad for a 4K. But it's just annoying. Especially because that one was such a dramatic price difference. Like the Terminator one is like, oh, $55 for a Steelbook, and now you can get the standard 4K without a Blu-ray disc for half that price. That sucks. But to know that it's like 3 times less for Nightmare on Elm Street, like say $25 for the 4K, and then you have to pay like $100 for the fucking Steelbook. I think it was $80 at JB. But that is awful. I hate that that's a thing. And it just keeps happening. Lethal Weapon just came out on 4K, and it's only a Steelbook release. I'm like, look, I don't plan to buy those films on 4K. I've already got the Blu-rays, and I think that they're just perfectly fine. But for those who really love the films and want to buy them, again, people like me when it came to Nightmare on Elm Street and Terminator, like, they want to get these films brand new when they come out. I know that the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World films also have trilogy packs in Steelbook form, which have just come out. And they're like $120 or $150 a Steelbook, which is fucked. And it's, again, each trilogy, which is fine. And they're all newly remastered, at least the original trilogy are newly remastered on 4K, even though they already had previous 4Ks, because they've got Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. So if you like those extra upticks, great. But I'm not spending like $120 on 3 fucking Jurassic Park films. I'm happy with the Blu-rays. I would love to get 4K upgrades, but I was actually going to get them initially, but then they was like, oh, they're only in standard HDR, they don't have like much of an extra uptick, whatever. But apparently the Dolby Vision really gives it some kick, gives it some nice life, the colors look a bit more balanced, all that kind of stuff. The things you want, same as the Dolby Atmos. But I'm going to have to wait for them to eventually do a standard release, probably of just the first one. I love the original trilogy. Like, I have no real issues with any of those films. The first one's a masterpiece, the second one's a dark alternative, and the third one is like almost a kid-friendly approach, but it's also like a 90-minute banger. It's got some dumb moments, but I fucking love it. It's just in and out and you're out of there. It's great. It's 90 minutes, perfect runtime. So that's another one of those ones where it's like, I'm not going to spend that much money for the 3 films. I think if it was 120, then sure, that's like $40 a film. But it's only 3 discs, you don't get any Blu-rays, and you have to deal with that artwork. And I fucking hate that artwork. So, that awful collage of dinosaurs. Ew. Not my cup of tea. Like, I didn't even mind the basic version of what they originally had with just like the, you know, silhouette of the dinosaur of Jurassic Park as the logo, like the original stuff. Like, it looks kind of cheesy now, but it works. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that. But yeah, so it's just annoying that, again, same even with the Disney ones, because they're not available in Australia at all, because Disney just doesn't sell to Australia anymore. But the fact that Andor, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, all those ones are Steelbook only. And now, personally, I'm not going to buy any except for Andor. I'm still waiting to buy Andor, but it's $100 for the Steelbook, and I'm like, I want to. Andor's great. I'll wait for Season 2 to come out, and we'll see if they do a bundle pack, or if they do a standard edition of the 2. They're not going to. I know what they did with The Mandalorian. They're not going to do a standard version of either set, which really annoys me. So they have to have them both on, like, stacked discs in a Steelbook. It's just a nightmare. So there's obviously the issue of Steelbooks in general. A lot of people don't like them. I'm in the bracket of, if the artwork's really nice, I'll go for it. Like, if it's like, in Australia we get some films released on 4K, that'll be like $40 for the Steelbook, 4K and Blu-ray, and then the standard 4K version, which might have different artwork, or better artwork, or however you want to look at it, just alternate artwork, that will be like $3 cheaper. So it's like, you know, like $36.98. So I'm like, do I want to pay $39.98 or $36.98? $39.98, I get a Steelbook and 2 discs. So if the 4K stops working, at least I have the Blu-ray. That's one of my benefits with it. I hate when the 4K disc stops working properly, or there's staticky images, or whatever it is that's a problem with it. I know you can get a replacement, whatever. But like, if it has that issue, I want to have something to fall back on. I don't want to have to rely on just not having anything. I like the alternate of having an extra disc. Of course, if they did release a 2-pack originally for the standard edition, Blu-ray and 4K, I wouldn't have this question. It would just be a depending on artwork kind of thing. And probably price, but mostly artwork. So it's become almost weirdly normalized in a way. Like, the people who are distributing like Blu-rays in general, are working with the Steelbook people to make sure that they have Steelbooks on the market first, and so for the first 6 to 12 months, you have to get the Steelbook edition, or you don't get shit, and you might not get a standard release. Depends again what country you're in. Nightmare on Elm Street was a deluxe set, so it took a lot longer for a standard edition to come out everywhere, whereas Terminator had both of them come out in America, but nothing in Australia. And isn't Terminator owned by Disney now? Like, it's 20th Century... Am I wrong in saying that it's 20th Century Fox? I'm pretty sure it is. If it isn't, then sure, whatever. But, like, I must be wrong, because, again, they only released... Well, they've released both now in Australia. I can't remember. I think Orion did it or something. Is it bad that I can't remember? It's too many companies, too many studios. Half of them are defunct now anyway. Much like 20th Century Fox. So... it's just annoying as a person who likes to buy movies, obviously, that I have to deal with getting whatever's available when it's available. Like, I was lucky to get, in the end, the Terminator Steelbook, and I do like the Terminator Steelbook, but now knowing that it's been a couple months later and they've released a standard version for half the price is really annoying. Like, if I hadn't have seen the Terminator Steelbook on that shelf that one time I went to, Southland JB, I wouldn't have bought it. It wouldn't have been a problem. Sure, I was happy to buy it and be like, shit, I hope there's a sale soon, and there luckily was a couple days later, which is great. But, like, again, if I hadn't have seen it, if someone had already bought it, I would be without the Terminator Steelbook, and I would have just lived my life normally until eventually they released the standard version, and I would have been like, great, I'll buy that for half the price. The artwork is not great, but I guess maybe is it better than the Steelbook? I don't know, but I already have the old Blu-ray, so I don't need the Steelbook set, because I already have the old Blu-ray, which now I'll pass on to a family member, and I'll keep the Steelbook to have both, versions of the movie. So, I don't know, a lot of it just comes down to, you just gotta wait, and eventually they'll do a standard release, but I mean, like, again, you look at Matilda, and that's got a Steelbook, and it still doesn't have a standard release. And to my knowledge, there still isn't one available, and still hasn't been one announced. And I'm like, why not? The UK are finally getting the 4K Steelbook, but there's still no standard release? I don't understand it. Like, when Steelbooks first started happening, and even during their peak, they were released alongside a Blu-ray. Here's the Blu-ray or 4K of a film, and here's the Steelbook if you want to spend the extra couple dollars to get wrapped in metal so it's in better protection, even though the shit rusts over time. It's kind of a shitty product, but I guess plastic cases are shitty anyway. And different artwork, which usually is a great thing. I got all the John Wick films on 4K Steelbook for that exact reason. Because I like the artwork. And also, again, you got multiple discs. That was a hell of a tirade over time. Hey, here's the Blu-ray DVD set, and... because the original 2 Steelbooks were Blu-ray DVD, and then here's the 4K versions, and now here's the 3rd film, and it's got both discs, but the standard edition still has both discs. But now here's the 4th film, and it's only 1 disc. But if you get the Steelbook, you get both discs, and it's $3 more. I didn't like the artwork on the 4th film anyway, so I preferred the Steelbook, so I got the Steelbook. Ironically, I can't remember what the artwork on the Steelbook is for the 4th film. I think that's really ironic. I have it, but I just can't remember. So it comes down to this props of, what do we even do now? Because initially it made sense that they occasionally would release a Steelbook version of a film, and people would even argue and ask when a new film came out, where's the Steelbook version? Where's the Steelbook version? And now it's just, where's the 4K version? People don't really ask where the Steelbook version is anymore, because most films just don't get Steelbook releases. And if they do, half the time they don't fucking sell. You can still go to most JB Hi-Fis and find, The Matrix Resurrections and F9, even I think F10 as well. I don't even know if they got a Steelbook. Madam Web, there's a couple of them that have just been around for years that nobody wants to buy the Steelbook of, whether they're good films or not. Some of them are good films, some of them are bad films. It doesn't matter. The fact that no one's buying them, it should be enough to say, no one gives a shit for the Steelbook release of this film. Even though I know people are going to say, who the fuck wants to buy Matrix Resurrections anyway? Me, because I like the film. Same as F9, but I bought that as the standard version. Didn't buy F10, because that movie sucks. So, didn't buy Madam Web either, yikes. So it just kind of comes down to that equation of, if naturally it eventually evolved into, you get one and you get the other, now it's just, you'll get the Steelbook and then eventually the standard release, and I don't like that. A lot of people don't like that. There's no conclusion I can get from this. I'm trying to think, where do I go with this video? But it's there's nothing. We just have to wait. if it comes down to this, I think, where people are going to buy the Steelbooks anyway, because it's the only version of the film that exists, usually because it's the only 4K of the film that exists, especially in local markets, for like Australia, for example. People are going to buy the expensive version because it's the only one that exists. And if it's the only one that exists and it sells out, then the studios will be like, great, we can either reprint it or do a standard edition, or hey, we were already going to do a standard edition within 6 to 12 months anyway. Depends on how long it takes for the Steelbooks to sell out. But it gives the studios the encouragement that, hey, if people are spending the extra 30 to 40 bucks on a Steelbook version, they're going to do that for every other fucking movie. So they're not going to release the standard versions because people's wallets are what's voting for it. People are paying for the expensive product. And that's it. That's all they care about. If they're getting better profits out of it, because they can easily make the argument of like, well, it's wrapped in metal and you get 2 discs, so it's worth more. So then, because they dictate the prices, then there's no argument that they can stop doing this. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep doing this until it stops being a thing. And currently, it's a thing, and it's going to remain this way for probably a couple more years. And the thing is, too, is that they don't do it very often. Some films will automatically get a Steelbook release. That's one thing. But if it's only like a film that's usually a 4K restoration of an older film, again, like Matilda or The Terminator or Nightmare on Elm Street, stuff that we've been waiting for a 4K release for, and it finally gets a 4K and it's only on a Steelbook, people are going to buy the Steelbook. They're not going to wait. They're going to get it because they want to get it. They want to get the film in the best quality possible. You know, they're not doing it like I'm doing it, where they're doing film reviews and Blu-ray reviews and unboxings and shit. Some of them are, but most of them are the regular consumer, the regular day-to-day person who just wants the film in the best possible way possible, the best quality possible. And sure, if they have to spend $60 to $100 on a Steelbook version because they can't get a standard release because there is none, they're going to do that. And so as long as we keep doing that, the companies and studios are going to keep making this as an option. And I know, I'm as guilty as you are. Again, I just mentioned the Terminator Steelbook and Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, I'm just as guilty as buying these better deluxe versions or Steelbook versions. Again, at least some of them I could justify. Being able to get Terminator because it was on the shelf after its reprint and was able to get it on sale a week later, great. Got a discount. I'm happy with that. Still not completely happy, but happy enough. Nightmare on Elm Street, at least it's a deluxe packaging. You get more to it. But it's still very annoying. Same as like that Beetlejuice one that they did. But they had already released Beetlejuice on 4K. They did the same Wizard of Oz. They made the lie that it had Dolby Vision. It still does, but the old version, which I already had, which had 1 extra disc, so you're getting less for your money because you don't get all the special features. You're just getting fucking postcards and pictures and shit, which nobody likes anyway. I like it, but a lot of people don't. But I didn't buy that set because I already had the old 4K, which already came with 3 discs, so I didn't have to stress. So it's just annoying that we can't do anything about it, you know? Because again, we're all just going to think, oh, as long as the majority don't buy these Steelbooks, then the studios will think, well, they're not selling well, we're going to have to do just standard releases now. But because you're going to be thinking that while you're at the checkout, buying that exact same release that you hope would be on a standard version instead because you could save money. So there's no way to get around it unless we all just boycotted the Steelbook releases, which we're not going to do because this is a very addictive habit for one thing, but also it's just nice to have the releases, especially if you don't know if they're going to do a standard one. But I think we've already gotten proved time and time again that they do. They did it with Terminator. They did it with Nightmare on Elm Street. They're probably going to do it with Lethal Weapon. So you just sit and wait, watch whatever Blu-ray you already have, and then just buy the standard one when it comes out. You know, would I have done that for Terminator? Yes. Would I have done that for Nightmare on Elm Street? I mean, yeah, definitely. I would have at least bought it from JB, but JB took forever to announce that they were doing a version, whereas Outrun had already announced it, and I'd already ordered it, and they'd already got it in before JB. Well, I think the day that I got it in, JB announced that they were doing one like a week or two later for like $20 cheaper. The assholes. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all. I don't really think I can stomach more of how annoying this problem is that we can't really fix. So, it's a consumerist habit, so we're all buckled under our wallets anyway. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. What other steelbooks you've had to suffer with buying over the standard edition because there hasn't been a standard one, US and UK included, not just Australia, because again, Australia gets a lot of delayed releases in general, which is very ironic given how so many still standard editions get delayed anyway because they're doing steelbooks instead, or again, they're just doing steelbooks and then eventually standard ones after a year and a bit. So let me know down below. I'll see you guys next time. Adios.